This is Mary Ramirez, your recording clerk. This Education and Youth Advisory Board of March 30th, 2023 is being held with a quorum of City of Westlake Advisory Board physically in attendance at the Westlake Council Chambers, 4005 Seminole Pratt Whitney Road. Please allow me to confirm any speakers that are virtually present and available to speak. Mr. Duty, are you on the line?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Public comments may be accepted prior to the meeting utilizing the electronic comment card available on the city's website. Public comments are also permitted at the appropriate time during the meeting. The board chair will call for such during public comment, and you may participate at this time utilizing the system's virtual hand feature and waiting to be acknowledged. Please note this meeting is being recorded, both voice and video, and to remember your mic may be live. I will mute any microphones that carry any feedback or interruptions. If you are a caller that has been muted, you may unmute yourself by pressing *6. Any person in the virtual meeting causing a disruption or being inappropriate will be removed from the meeting. If I may also remind those physically in attendance, please utilize the microphone so that the virtual audience and a clear recording of the meeting is produced. Please note, an oath of office for alternate board member Ashley Marola was completed prior to the start of the meeting. First order of business is us to elect someone to be temporary board chair for the purpose of conducting this meeting. Do we have a volunteer?
I've not done this before, but I'll give it a try.
I'll let her try.
Yeah, okay.
You want to try?
No, I did it.
Okay.
Just prompt me when I need to say something.
Can we have a motion?
Could we have that then, that appointment take place by motion, please?
Okay. Anita Kaplan, I have the script right there next to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's for the, okay.
What do you say is in red?
All right, can we have a motion?
To appoint a temporary chair for tonight's meeting.
To appoint a temporary chair?
Yes,
You have to say it, please.
Yes.
I motion to place Anita as the temporary chair for today.
And a second?
I second that motion.
All right. Roll call. Ashley Marola?
Here?
Just, yes.
Yes.
Anita Kaplan?
Here.
Yes.
Yes.
And Jennifer Bermudez?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 3-0.
If we could then, Ms. Kaplan, if I might suggest, if we follow the agenda, according to the agenda, I would ask that you consider to approve the agenda for tonight.
Do we have to do the Pledge of Allegiance first?
You have the script.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Pledge of Allegiance first. Yes, please.
You want to do the call to order first?
I think you called that to order. You mentioned you formed the first order of business was the appointment of the temporary chair. You accomplished that. So I would ask that you consider the Pledge of Allegiance at this point.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
The next order of business would be approval of the agenda. Respectfully, if you all are in agreement, you could entertain a motion to approve the agenda, or at this time, if you wish to amend the agenda, this would be the appropriate time to make an amendment by adding something or deleting something.
Shall we move to approve the agenda?
Yes, a motion to approve the agenda.
So approved.
A second?
I second the motion.
Thank you.
Public comment.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me do roll call really quick.
Please.
Okay, roll call. Oh, let me see. Motion to approve the agenda. I'm sorry. Board member Bermudez,
Yes.
board member Marola,
Yes.
board member Kaplan.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0.
You now have public comments. Those who are in attendance may speak for 3 minutes, or those who are in attendance virtually can contact the city clerk and be recognized.
You want me to read this? This section of the agenda allows for comments from the public to speak. Each speaker will be given a total of 3 minutes to comment. A public comment card should be completed and returned to the recording clerk. When you are called to speak, please go to the podium or unmute your device. And prior to addressing council, state your name and address for the record.
Board Chair received no public comment cards prior to the meeting. However, I will give the virtual audience a moment to raise their virtual hand or unmute their devices stating their name and address. If you are a caller that has been muted, you may press *6 to speak. Please state your name and address. Chair, we have no comments. You can go on to the next item.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
I second.
Approved?
Hold on one second.
No, do you approve it?
Okay, motion to approve the minutes by Board Member Bermudez,
Yes.
seconded by Board Member Marola.
Yes.
Roll call. Board Member Bermudez,
Yes.
Board Member Marola,
Yes.
Board Member Kaplan.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Unfinished business. A is donations, fundraising for teacher and student liaison recognition. We have before us discussion of donations and fundraising. Are there any comments from the board? Yes, I have a comment. I don't remember where we were on this as of the last meeting. Can you update us a little bit?
Well, at the last meeting, I was not in attendance, but we were to do a drive. We did was this back in were you talking about the back to school drive? Or which teacher specifically?
It's
was
donations,
represented?
fundraising for teacher and student liaison recognition. Do we have student liaisons in each of the schools?
But we have a student representative. He is a student at Seminole Ridge High School. He's graduating this year. He is our student. He's the youth representation of our board.
Okay, so he represents all the schools.
Yes. Well, yeah, and yes.
Yeah, big job.
technically. Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, is it an appropriate time to comment on that? I'm not sure what that's covering, but I was, are we thinking of a plan, like of a plan on how to move forward with recognizing those individuals? Or our student liaison, or is that unfinished from the last?
See, the problem is the meeting was so long ago.
That it's very hard to
I
remember.
forget what the discussion was, and I didn't see a lot in the minutes. Do we know what the student liaison is here?
Yes.
Do you have any comments of what you'd like to see happen that you think might be helpful?
Well, I remember last time I was here, you, I mentioned.
But go.
State your name, please.
Thomas Grabowski, 5948 Buttonbush Drive. I remember last time we were meeting, I remember the board was discussing maybe going in the route towards scholarship. That I remember they're saying they're going to try to reach out to some of the businesses and just area people and maybe see about potentially getting scholarship money.
So we don't have any scholarship money now for students that we know of?
No, and that's, I guess that's, what I wanted, was a good talk. I was gonna present that later, and we could talk about that later too, is what we were gonna do to move forward with, with that. I wasn't at our last meeting actually, but I do know that that was, part of the discussion. So I guess maybe thinking of ways to move forward with that would be.
And then I remember with the teacher, I think it had to do with like where we were trying to recognize a teacher from a school, and we were going to try and figure out like what exactly we were going to do for them. And I think that has to do with the other part of the funding.
So it was like a similar thing.
Yeah.
So this recognizing a student, the student advisory board member, not as well as a teacher in the area.
So do you happen to know, are there any already existing in-house awards for teachers in the system? Do we know much about that?
No, I mean, we're, because it's a new board, there aren't, that has not been established. I don't know that we've had those conversations with,
Okay.
with the people.
Do you know if you do that in your school?
At my school, I work at Inlet Grove High School, and we have an annual gala every year. It's called My Teacher, My Hero, and there are recipients from several of the schools in Palm Beach County high schools who receive awards for that. And then we have our own in-house scholarship program from the fundraising of the gala for students.
So maybe we could piggyback on that, and do something from Westlake, yeah.
Some kind of gala or something to
Rather
recognize
than
teachers.
recreate, what's already existed. I would imagine a lot of the schools have something like that. It's just a matter of when it is. It's usually at the end of the year, or is it twice a year? Or
Well, I guess it depends on the school as well. 'Cause I know our school doesn't really, it depends on the grade level or if it's a district-wide thing or, a region thing. So I think we'd have to like establish parameters and then go from there.
Darlene Winooski, 5948 Buttonbush Drive. So at the last meeting, what they were talking about was doing each trimester, bringing in a representative from each school. So each of our local schools could nominate their teacher for like the Westlake teacher of the quarter or teacher of the trimester, however many times a year they wanted to do it. And then bringing them in and presenting them with some kind of like gift card or award certificate, and just kind of making that a regular thing that was just done through the city, and each administration at the school could nominate their teacher for that month based on criteria that they were setting forth. So they were working on getting businesses to come on board and a partner with that. And so they were going to look at funding for that, and then they were going to look at funding to establish like an ongoing scholarship fund for the student liaison currently, and then all the ones that would follow. So that's, I think, what that line on that was referring to, if that helps.
Yep, that helps a lot. Thank you. I just have one comment that this could be really big or really small. I mean, if we're talking about something in every school and doing it every trimester, that's a lot. I'm wondering if we should start with something a little smaller and see how that goes.
And I think if it's just recognition to, like, if it's just, like we're recognizing a teacher I guess it would depend on what we're doing, how we're executing that. You're right. Like, are we doing a small, thank you or token or acknowledgement of some sort, a banner somewhere in the city, like something simple
A
like
gift
that.
certificate or something, yeah.
Or are we, what else are we doing? So I guess like establishing like those,
What do you have for awards at your school that
Um,
you seem to remember that you thought were really effective?
They do like visionary awards for like visionary teachers, excellence in parental communication, like reading excellence, intellectual humor, just different characteristics that a teacher would have. Yeah. But I mean, if we're looking at schools in Westlake, we're looking at like 4 or 5 schools, 5 schools. So that does narrow it down quite a bit then.
Mm-hmm.
so I think it makes it a little easier to,
Yeah.
because we don't have that many schools. Growing population, but not
Yeah.
many schools.
So should we talk about something specific now or to kind of move forward on or?
I think, I think what we should do is, we're gonna have to follow through and execute, making sure like the next step when we meet next, hopefully soon, that we have at least reached out to Winn-Dixie or the new Publix or some of the new shopping centers coming in, the church. They're willing to give. I think we just need to extend our hands out there. They're willing to support teachers and the area. So I think maybe even going out and having some conversations and then coming back and saying, hey, these are the people that are willing to donate. This is what they're willing to do. And then from there decide, okay, this is what we can do or can't based on what we have.
If I might
guess I
wait, excuse me, I'm just by introduction, I'm DJ Judy, I'm the city attorney. I've got the ordinance in front of me. I would caution this board to be very careful about considering fundraising efforts at this point in time. Something like that really needs to be approved by the city council because you're not able to establish a bank account. You're not a legal entity. So the donations, if you would be granted to the city of Westlake. It would not go to this board. It would really have to be expended at the discretion of the city council because you're acting as an advisory board. You can make recommendations, but I would ask you to consider, as someone said, implementing and discussing going forward, maybe on a smaller scale, and designate teachers at a certain time recognition. But I would be very hesitant to advise you to engage in fundraising with corporate entities at this point in time.
Would we be able to accept gifts? Like gift cards or
When you say we, who do you mean?
I'm saying the board or I'm really not sure how this works, but for whatever teacher we recognize, I don't know like what capacity we're able to reward the teachers. I guess it is a good conversation to have with council. But if we are having conversations with these corporations, maybe we're not asking for funds, at this time, but is it appropriate if they wanted to donate like a gift card or a dinner or, I just kind of want to know what we're asking for as we go out in the community.
I think you can, I would get direction from the city council to that effect. I think that's a good idea. But at this point, there's really no policy or guidelines to follow regarding those solicitations. And you don't want them to be taken out of context. And you want to make sure that it's in alignment with the policy decisions of the city council, because you as board members, you're representatives of the city, but you don't have any authority, if you will, by virtue of an elected office and that type of thing. So I would ask that you consider how to proceed with designating or recognizing particular teachers' time frame, and then seek direction from the city council on fundraising efforts. Because you got to be very careful soliciting gifts, if you will, or donations, albeit a very good cause, but that causing the question auditing considerations, and it would take, it has to be earmarked in a special account by the city, and the city council ultimately would have the ultimate decision on how to expend those funds.
I go to city council regularly, so I could bring it up.
I think we need to go. I'm trying to figure out what can we do in the scope of what we do to recognize, I guess I want to know what can we do?
One thing I brought up last time is the group here can make it as advisory decision, make with the schools that we have, promote that name for that next month. It would say we did it every month. It would be brought back to the city council and we would give maybe a certificate that night. The mayor would read a certificate and hand that over, take a picture with the teacher of the month or quarter, whatever that might be. And that's free. That's easy to do.
Yeah. Okay.
And I understand what the attorney's saying with the financing part of it. Maybe we don't do that yet. Maybe we do start off with a certificate.
Yes.
And
okay.
a recognition, we'll put it in the minutes. They'll be on TV here, you know, on our live stream and be present in the city.
Great
For that.
idea, yeah.
We could even, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, donate like a banner, put it somewhere in the city or something like
Uh-huh,
that. That's still
yeah.
recognition or, okay.
Yeah, it could be a banner.
Toward that, that's a very good
Yes, yes.
suggestion. You could, you would make, this board would consider potential teachers to be recognized for their efforts within the school system that exists in the city. I would ask you stay in Westlake. Don't consider schools outside the municipal boundaries, and make a recommendation to the city council, who could then accept your recommendation and award the certificate and recognize that each quarterly or monthly, however you wish to do it.
I do, I mean, then something I want to bring up as well is that we have schools outside of quote unquote Westlake that service our population. Like I know Acreage Pines Elementary has a ton of students from Westlake. I know, some of the Loxahatchee Girls, Golden Girls, all of them have our students. So just, I think that's something that we want to consider as well, is where are our students going to here in the area, in the Acreage area? I think it's important to maybe consider the Acreage schools, because our population, our Westlake community students and children are going to these schools. And I don't think we can open it up to so many, but I think there are like 7 if we think of all the schools that are actually take our students. You know, I know that, like, for example, Acreage Pines has an autistic unit. There are over 50 children there. A lot of those children, you know, are coming from our communities. So I think it'd be important to recognize those schools, because they are doing a lot for our communities, and they are doing a lot for the kids in our community. So I think that's something to consider as well.
Could I ask you?
Well, then, respectfully, that's a good issue to take before the city council. Those are all valid points, but that would be a decision by the city council.
Can you call them out while you?
I'm gonna try to remember them all.
Thank
So
you.
I'm trying to write them down. So
Okay.
in the city, we have Golden Grove Elementary. It's not in the city. You're right. Oh, but interesting. And our community feeds into Golden Grove. That's their home school, Golden Grove and Loxahatchee Grove. So the schools I'm considering or thinking of are Golden Grove, Pierce Hammock, yeah, like a Pierce Hammock, Pierce Hammock, Acreage Pines, Frontier, Osceola Creek, Western Pines, Seminole Ridge.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's more than 4.
Loxahatchee Groves. I don't think I've mentioned them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think that's it. I think those are the 8 schools. So those are 8 schools that our kids feed out into.
Can we put those in the agenda?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Can we add those into the agenda? The listing of those schools?
Would there be others as far as magnet programs go as well, or are we just looking closely?
I think
across the
closely. Some of them, I know, some of these schools are magnet programs, which is why the children end up going there. I think most of our students are going to these schools. So that's, but I'm sure kids that go other places.
We have a college actually that's not part of Westlake, but it's in Loxahatchee. You have Palm Beach State College there. Yeah. I don't know where we want to cut this,
Mhm. I think maybe that's something we bring up to the
To the
council and
council,
say, hey,
yeah. Yeah,
if we're doing this, is this something, these are the schools that we're interested in.
right.
And these, honestly, these are the schools that we do include. I think when we do like our drives and things like that, we do consider these schools that we have considered these schools and donated to all of these schools because they receive our students or children. So I guess we just need to show up to the next council meeting. And
Yeah. Any other comments on this? So the fundraising, we're going to kind of defer for a while and just talk about, awards and have, request if the mayor could be involved in that. I think that would bring some pizzazz to it.
Yeah,
you
I
know.
mean, as we're coming to the end of the school year, we could do maybe a teacher of the year from each of those schools servicing the area and have one award per school designated by the mayor.
Is
I
it
think-
is it too late?
You know what? I don't think it's late. I don't think it's too late. I think, I mean,
Okay.
we only have like 40 days left to school, who's counting? We only,
Oh,
but I mean, we only have like 40 days left, but
Uh-huh.
I think if we execute it in, if we have an answer like by the end of April or something, that we have at least the month of May. So May 26th is the last day of school. And then maybe at our May meeting, depending on when our next meeting is, that we could have something ready at that time.
Great.
And I definitely, I do not know when our next council meeting is, our city council meeting is, but I.
Greg knows.
So the 26th of April is our next city council meeting. It was moved. Normally we're the second. But for May, I wanted to give you that date. And that is May 2nd is the May meeting. So we could do a presentation there, or school, we could do in June, but then by the time, well, we'll still be in session, the school will still be in session in beginning of June, which would be June 6th. School out by 6th. We can still do a recognition of teachers on the 6th.
Okay, yeah, it's right
That'd
after.
be June 6th. So those are the upcoming,
There, though, the students wouldn't be there or anything, right?
well, if you're just doing teacher of the year, they'd be brought to the council and we,
Oh, okay.
you would make those recommendations, we bring it to the council.
It would even be like, we make the recommendation like in April and then have a plan for like some
That'd be
kind
fine.
of recognition in June.
So would we have to come up with
And
the
then-
criteria then to lay out to the schools, tell?
Well, yeah, we're gonna have to come, yeah, because if, I would say there is something, so every year, I mean, in the school district, there's a school does a nomination for like a teacher of the year or a, instructional, non-instructional, employee of the year or whatever the case is. It'd be interesting to see what maybe some of the local schools use to do that and what emails they sent out. And it's a simple nomination. It's who do you, like, what are we looking for? Like, what is what is it that the city of Westlake is looking to recognize and then sending that out? So I think that would be like where we start. Like, what are we trying to recognize and then sending that out to the local schools? And I'm sure we'd have an answer very, very quickly.
Can you share those?
I can chat with, yes, I can. I can do that.
And maybe you could also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You'll have to send those to the city clerk.
Yes,
'Cause you
I'll do
can't email
that.
each
Yes, I know, we can't do that. Yeah, so
Right.
we'll send them
Right.
first so you don't get in trouble.
Do we want to focus on what awards we
Jump
want
in
to
and-
do?
If I
Or do we
might,
get into-
Madam Chair, if I might just, I think it's timely. Keep in mind, and I probably should have, my first opportunity to address you, you are subject to the Sunshine Law and Public Records as a fact-finding board and advisory board. So if you would, be very conscious of the fact that you can't discuss this with other board members outside a meeting. And if you're going to have contacts via email to schools or principals, those could be subject to public record requests at a later date. So please address your emails, and I know you would, in a fashion, keep in mind that it could see the light of day publicly in a public records request and examined by any member of the public who wishes to see it. That's the Florida law. I'm not imposing it. I'm just telling you what the parameters that the Florida legislature has outlined for board members on fact-finding and advisory boards. By virtue of you making recommendations, that draws you into the sunshine, so we're meeting in public or we have minutes, or we have members of the public in attendance, but your emails would be subject to scrutiny or review by a newspaper or a member of the public if they request it from the city. Not to have a chilling effect on your efforts, but just be aware of that, please.
And I think in our case too, we work at schools, so it could be a simple, like a conversation. I don't know about, yours could be a conversation and then,
That's why I think now it would be, I think because time is of the essence here, if we could kind of decide on some kind of parameters, because I think there's so many things. It sounds like we've agreed that we want to do some award document, right? And we need to get the criteria that we want to use for that.
I think, I
If
mean,
we can use something that you have, maybe we can modify it. But see, you can't send it out. Can you send it out to the board?
not to the, I would send it out to the clerk and then the clerk would
Would
then
send it to
decide
us.
who- Yeah,
Okay,
they
yeah.
send it out to the whoever, I guess, right? Whoever we need it to be sent out to. Um,
So what's our
I-
choices and what do you think would take the least amount of?
I honestly think calling it like Westlake Teacher of the Year, or, I mean, do you have something to add? And then,
Darlene Winooski, 5948 Button Bush. Since you are under a time crunch, every school has their own unique needs, and each principal might be able to better decide what the Teacher of the Year means to their individual school. So maybe for this first round of awards, you would let the principals decide what their criteria is. You know, we're looking for a teacher that is of most value to your school and your staff. And, you know, if they could submit the names and tell you why, and then you can use the information they submitted to you about why they chose that teacher to help establish your criteria for the future. Just a thought.
that puts it on them. I mean, that puts the workload on them, and they're gonna choose someone that represents whatever it is they
Right.
need, and they'll submit a letter. I like that idea. I think that'll make things a little easier.
So like a recommendation for one teacher per school?
First, I
Okay.
think so,
And
right?
We don't have to make a decision
Exactly,
then? Okay.
exactly. Yeah, they recommend a
One
teacher.
person per school.
So we potentially have 8 if the council, I mean, we'll have to chat with the council about if they agree on schools outside of, our city. So potentially we have anywhere between 5 and 8 schools that we could have Teacher of the Year for.
When it says teacher of the year, Westlake, even though some of them are in Loxahatchee Groves, does that rub anybody? No. Okay.
I would say no, I represent.
Uh-oh.
That would be stepping into another municipality, so probably not. It's like Palm Beach State College, Loxahatchee Groves has some other schools that are the city, village or town of Loxahatchee. So that's a little boundary issue
Could,
because that's their schools that
Yeah.
they're in their boundaries.
so what if could we do like we could, we'd have to think of a name, I guess that doesn't include like Westlake and then, right? I mean, could we?
That would.
Tell us, please.
Put in minutes.
Maybe you want to sit.
I think you could recognize the teacher's contribution to the students who reside in Westlake.
That's,
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
Darlene Winooski, yes, exactly. I was gonna say Teacher of the Year for teachers serving Westlake students, because we really only have one school within our boundaries. Even the schools that our students are boundary to are currently outside of our boundaries. So Golden Grove and Loxahatchee Groves, which are where our students are exclusively boundary for, both exist in other municipalities or in unincorporated areas of the county.
that solves that problem.
That's good. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yep.
That narrows it too, doesn't it?
It does, and I think
Yeah.
it'll make it easier with like a letter of recommendation. We could, well, not we, the clerk could send that out, maybe. We work on something to send, or not we, I'm sorry, I can work on something to send to the clerk, and then the clerk can send it out to the principals or in the area. I'm not sure, how that would work, but it could be sent out. So as long as we,
Can
I guess we have to meet on that.
add something to it that maybe
I'm
this is a long shot?
I'm sorry, DJ? DJ?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we need to get council approval for this?
I think what they're going to do is solicit recommendations to the city council and bring it forward and see how it's accepted. But the city will have the ultimate decision to make the recognition or the award. But I think they can do so. Yes, ma'am.
And I was wondering if we could add something in terms of community involvement or community service. These people that come to the events that we've sponsored in the area, or it would be nice if there would be some criteria particular to Westlake in terms of dealing with or working with the community.
Say like outside of the teachers, like a community.
No, as part of that.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it's part of that. Rather than just using what's been set up for the schools, you know what I mean? It is a Westlake award, but I'm not sure that we've honed in on what is it about Westlake that should highlight why that person should be chosen for a Westlake award.
And I think too, what Mrs. Winooski was saying is like this go around, maybe leave it up to the principals and see what they feel represents, how they, what they feel their, whatever teacher they choose, how they feel they represent the community. And then
Yeah.
when we have a little more time, like
They can
coming up with
decide, yeah.
even something that we want, like this is what we're saying we want to represent Westlake, and then
Right.
sending that criteria
Yeah,
out.
oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's fine to use, something that you already have that works.
Mhm.
I was just wondering if there was a way to say something about Westlake in it, to kind of
Well,
highlight
you
it.
all can consider that, if I might. Keep in mind, you do not have to award 8 certificates. You don't have to have 8 teachers of the year.
Yeah.
You can accept recommendations of the principals, then analyze them as to their contribution to the city of Westlake.
So we could have possibly send it out to those 8 schools, ask for recommendations from them, and then as a board, reconvene and discuss which letter or
Yeah.
recommendation
Yes,
best
ma'am.
serves Westlake.
Yes, and then you would make the recommendation to the city council, and they would make the ultimate decision.
I think we should propose both. I think we should propose a single, like a single teacher per school, and then, or minimizing that. I'm just curious to see like what we get out of what we send out to principals, or what is sent out to principals, and then go from there first. So I think if we bring it up like April, we bring up the conversation in April, there's going to be a quick turnaround. Like we can send whatever we need to send out, or work with the city clerk to get whatever we need to get sent out, and the response is going to be pretty. I would say pretty quick. We could give them a timeline of, hey, by whatever date, May 3rd or whatever it is, I don't know, but give a date and then have an answer back. And then my hope would be that, I guess we'll discuss that later, that we have a meeting in May,
Right.
or April, have a meeting so that we're able to make decisions before
Right. It's
the
going to
June
be-
Do they
6th.
have to live in Westlake?
No, I don't think, no, because they're serving, the teachers are serving
Okay,
those students
just
in the
asking, yeah.
play. I know what
Yeah.
I'm saying, like they're,
Okay.
they might not live here.
Mhm. So it sounds like we have agreed on the Outstanding Teacher Award. And it will be for the 8 schools, but we have to present it to the council to
Yes,
see that they're in agreement with that.
I agree.
And that there'll be no money involved, that the mayor
Presents whatever.
presents the award, which would be nice. Should we have them come here?
I would
to
think
get the
that this would be
award and have
done
the
here
presents?
too, or.
At the city council meeting.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then we can and then we can discuss our student representative, I think at that April meeting as well, like what are we doing? Or
What
a
could
youth
be
member,
done.
what could be, yeah, like,
Right.
and moving forward, yeah.
Right.
We're gonna anoint him.
Yeah.
All right, so I think, can we move now on to the next item? So that's the unfinished business. And now we're talking about student volunteer
Madam Chair.
opportunities. That's item B.
Anita. Just
Sorry.
want to chime in real quick to backtrack one more time. Anything that you want for us to come see at the council in the May meeting, you're gonna need to send it in to the city clerk on the week of the 10th of April. And you want to propose, because she has to do her stuff that she has to do for her agenda and run around through the council, city manager, before it gets put on our agenda.
We have to send it that week or prior to.
You have a specific date, Zoe?
So by April 10th.
Submit a proposal for what we would need. Okay.
And then the council will consider it at the May meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
May 10th, right?
April 10th.
April.
April.
So Jennifer, you're gonna reach
I-
out to them? Okay.
Yep.
5 days, 5 days.
I'm not busy at work at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. Okay, on B, on student volunteer opportunities, we have before us discussion of student volunteer opportunities. Are there any comments from the board? I can make a comment. Well, it's kind of on the next item, so let's do this one first. Was there some discussion about this at the last board meeting? I don't remember that. Was there? Yes.
You just need to stand up there.
This was last August. You got a good memory.
Darlene Winooski, 5948 Buttonbush. I turned 50. It's getting harder. So at the last meeting, they were talking about working with the High School National Honor Society sponsor to really formalize some more of the opportunities to volunteer for like city events. So like we have the city Easter party coming up. Ideally, we would want our middle and high school students to be able to be here to volunteer. July 4th, to have them here at our city festivals. So they were looking for a way to create a more formalized pipeline with the local schools and provide those student volunteer opportunities on a regular basis. And also to make the student liaison job more formalized so that whoever the student liaison is was helping to facilitate those relationships with the local schools and recruit the students from the clubs to come in and volunteer. So that was the discussion at the last one. They were looking to contact that sponsor. And I know she was set to come to the meeting that was canceled. And I guess she wasn't able to be here tonight. She was provided with the information. So I think that's something you'll probably have to look at moving forward to get her to come out to the next meeting and help to formalize that process. And it also makes sense to wait till you have a new student liaison in place since this one is outgoing.
So I did reach out to Seminole Ridge High School, and I got in contact with the activities director, Ms. Licaroli, and she is the contact. And she said that whenever we need volunteers, send her a flyer, the date and time, and how many sponsors are needed, volunteers are needed, and she will spread it out to everyone in the school.
Did you say Licavelli? Is that her name?
Licavoli?
I think I met with her about a year ago, just preliminarily, when I started to become active in the board meeting, so
I think
I can,
that's, and that's
reach
pretty
out
easy.
to her
Somebody
again.
to send a flyer or, I don't know how the line, I mean, I guess.
Well, we would have
Yeah.
we're creating a registration form online. So so anytime somebody is wanting to volunteer, they would register, whether it's a student, a resident, anybody that wants to volunteer, they would register for the event that they want to volunteer for, and we would have the information. And we'll keep a running log of everyone that's volunteering to always reach out to them.
That's perfect. And it would also be, thinking long-term next year, you'd be able to have maybe a recognition award for somebody who's donated a lot of time in Westlake, done a lot of our events.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be live soon.
This is great. Audience participation. I love it.
Cindy Walker, 14921 Tangerine Boulevard. Hi, I actually am a volunteer liaison for Seminole Ridge, but with adults, but for students at Western Pines. So if there's an age limit, because in order to get our silver and gold awards for our school, our students have to volunteer. So you can also send it to me.
What's the age?
Darlene, age for middle is what?
11.
Middle schoolers start at the young is 11, most of them are 12 to 14.
Yeah, so if you could use them as well, please do, because that's how we get our awards.
For the students, for the younger ones,
Yes.
for the younger ones, I believe under 14, they would need to have a parent with them.
We can do that too.
Yeah, because we can't have them.
But just for the school, because our schools get recognized by gold and silver awards every year, and I'm always catching up on hours. So if you could do something like that too, but please include me, and then I'll go ahead and submit whatever you need to be submitted. If it's online, I can have them register online as well. Because over the summer, they did a beautification project at our school, and we got community service hours for that for them.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
so-
nice. Yeah.
Kind of together.
Please
That's-
take that into consideration as well. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? All right, anybody else? There being no further comments or discussion, may I have a motion to approve the item?
Motion to approve?
Mhm.
I second the motion.
Excuse me, there's no motion, there's no action on the agenda. I think you reached a consensus, so you can't take action on this item.
Okay,
But your discussion has been very clear and very helpful, so I think you can go forward.
all right. New business, not having had, I don't even know where my notes have been. Lately, when I come to the meeting, they're in the book, but I think since the last meeting was so long ago, I kind of lost track. So I wasn't sure how many of these ideas existed. So I said, well, let me propose something that I've always been active in and find that students really like. And just for want of a better word, I called it summer internship opportunities. And I thought this might be at some point maybe something interesting for older students, and that maybe they could get some community service points for this. I think there's quite a bit to flush out on this. Sometimes students do shadowing, and it's not a real either paid or non-paid kind of activity. And in some high schools in particular, it's usually juniors, I think, and seniors. And I don't know if some of the seniors here in the high school are allowed to go to work early in the afternoon. And I'm wondering if we could use some of those activities as a way for them to have some strategic items to address in an internship, and they get some points or whatever. It's just an idea.
So at my school at least, so Seminole Ridge, Thomas Karbowski, 5948 Buttonbush Drive. So at Seminole Ridge, there's at least two classes that I know of. You have job opportunity and also volunteer opportunity. So you can have up to 2 classes of job opportunity and 2 classes of volunteer.
Wow.
So you can have a senior who is in my situation. I have a college class and senior privilege and a volunteer class, but I get out at 11:20 every day. So you could have a senior who has 2 job opportunities spots, and then a senior privilege, and they're getting out at 11:20, and they can come and volunteer. Or opposite with volunteer, they could get out at that time and go and volunteer somewhere. And typically, it has to be an organization that's not for profit, at least for the volunteer one, and it has to be a single one. So they could do like City of Westlake, I guess, technically as who they're volunteering for. But that's basically
Cool.
And the scope, it could be a school, it could be, or, like you said, something not. for
Yeah.
profit.
and then the job, I think you have to show like actual recorded hours of work, like paychecks, and that show hours that you have actually done. So I don't know if you can necessarily do like it's called work experience. I don't know if you could use that class as one, but you could definitely probably use volunteer.
Are there like outcomes or objectives for what they should be doing is there like a booklet or something?
So for volunteer, you have to have, I think it's 38 a semester, and or, yeah, 38 volunteer hours, or it's not a semester, it's a quarter. And so every semester or every quarter, you have to have 38 volunteer hours.
That would be, I think we don't need this one more thing right now. But I think it's something to consider. And once again, it's already somewhat existing. Yeah.
Already in place, so that's
Yeah.
nice,
It'd be interesting to do like a city council shadow type opportunity where
Yeah.
they'd be able to come and
Exactly. Yeah.
see how that's run.
Yeah.
Might be
Especially with a
potential
brand new
council
city,
members.
seeing it
that-
built up from the ground.
Right.
There's so many
Exactly.
different things that they do. I mean, their work is
Yeah.
of everything. So.
And they could shadow not just at the council meeting, but maybe some of the other people that work here would talk
Yes,
with them
oh my
about their jobs and what they do.
That's a great situation.
Yeah.
Student or youth, or our youth representative could even take that role too.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Liaison
Yeah.
yeah.
Any other comments from the board? I think this was a really productive meeting. What do you think?
I think so too. I think it's a lot, but I think
Is this an official meeting because there's only three of us? Is three enough to have an official
A
meeting?
quorum.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
But I don't think none of us were here at the last meeting, right? So it's like,
Well, so we talked
But we're here
about what we
today.
got- Yeah,
We're here
right,
today.
exactly, exactly.
yes, I'm on it to the podium.
Cindy Walker, 14921 Tangerine Boulevard. I don't know if this is appropriate time, but I came here to make a statement or like a two-part statement question. I am the vice president of Breakthrough Athletic League, which we just started a new sports league out here in the acreage. And right now we are currently practicing at Western Pines, Acreage Pines, and our games are being held at Seminole Ridge on Saturdays. We just started our league last year. We have 321 students, well, children registered. And I don't know what your plans are moving forward or how I address. But we are looking for field space. We'd like to work with Westlake in the near future because I know that building is going on and I don't really know much about the park situation, but so we are looking for space for that reason. So I don't know if I should attend your meeting.
Probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say, I could bring it up to that meeting, but I think it'd be
Yes.
great. At that.
So how would I get on that agenda?
So on the 26th, the city council. On the 26th, the city council and said Seminole Improvement District are discussing at 5:00 aspects of the park. That'll be next to the high school.
Okay,
So you're welcome to come. That's a public meeting. We'll be in this room.
okay.
And that's at 5:00 on the 26th, Wednesday, the 26th of April.
And would I be?
5:00?
The,
Or is it 6:00?
6:00 is the city council meeting.
Oh, okay. Oh,
The
all
first
right,
one
yeah.
is a public meeting with Seminole Improvement District because they have the land
own
and they're working the land and coming up with some design features.
Good timing.
So that will be discussed amongst both boards here and you're welcome to attend that.
Can I speak there?
There'll be public comment.
Okay. all
There
right,
should
so-
be.
Yes.
Yes, there will be.
Okay, so I don't have to be on the agenda or anything? Okay, all right. I'm gonna take that home with me. Thank you. That's all I had to say.
Thank you. I think we have another comment from a council member.
So something that I wanted to bring up and maybe we could invite to our next meeting, and I always forget his name, whoever's in charge of zoning, whoever that person is in the district. But, what's his name? Jason Link, yes, because I chatted with him before. So I think it's important to have him come back out. Our city has grown tremendously, growing way faster than I think anybody expected it to grow. I think it's important to have him come out and maybe chat about zoning again, here at this meeting. And I'd like to talk about what the plan is moving forward for the area. I think we are growing rapidly. Our schools are feeling the growth. in good and bad ways. So I just like to see what the proposed plan is, either to, when is the projected date of a school possibly come? I don't know. I know that the date when we first started this years ago, when, the city was new, was like 2027 or something like that, the next few years. We are outgrowing our schools in the area. I mean, we're feeling the impact. I know our neighboring schools are feeling it. So I'd like to hear about zoning. It has directly impacted our schools. I know some of our the schools, Golden Grove, for example, gets a lot of our population in Westlake. They are having to add concretables to their campus because they can't hold the amount of kids. They're over capacity. So I know Acreage Pines is at capacity, and I know they will be over next year. So I feel, those are the only two schools I know I have numbers for. So I'd like to invite someone over to chat about zoning and what the plan is moving forward. And if that's Jason Link, then I'd like.
Okay, we would suggest that you do reach out to him. The last time he did provide a PowerPoint presentation.
okay.
Yeah, so you can go ahead and reach out to him.
I will do
I
that.
think we had a presentation at some point
It
at
was-
the council meeting where they
Yes.
showed the zones, I guess, of where
Yes,
the growth
ma'am.
might be potentially,
They did that. And then what I found was, if one question gets asked to me, it's that. It's like, what is the zoning for the school? And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, it's just so many, we've grown so much that those people, at the time our community was small or smaller. So I think it'd be interesting to just have like a refresher. It's been a few years, I want to say a couple of years at least, since we.
what's his name again?
Jason Link. And I can reach out to him as
Does he
well,
work for the city?
for the school district.
Oh, he works
I
for the
believe,
school
I don't-
district.
zoning and planning or. Okay.
So that's something that we asked the,
I think that's something
Council
we should
too,
bring up
right?
with it,
Yeah.
exactly. I think so too.
that'd be great.
Oh, boy.
What happens if it gets to the point where there's no one shares, or what happens to these students when you're at max? What do they do?
Rezoning.
I
Yeah, we
mean,
have
they
to rezone,
they have
so
to accept all the students?
If you're in the zone, they have to, yeah.
Yeah, we have to, even if we're over capacity, I'm not, yeah.
Wow.
Have to accept those kids, especially when, you have schools that have cluster sites or, we have in the area, we have, like I said, a school that services students that are on the autism spectrum is the only school in our area that services those children. So we're the only school that gets them right now. I mean, there are some changes coming, but that's, I think that's where I'm advocating for the kids as well and trying to
Wow.
figure out what's the plan.
Anything else from anybody?
I have a comment. Per our ordinance, the board is to meet quarterly. So I have the following dates of the next meetings for the rest of the year. The next one would be June 29th, September 28th, and December 14th.
June 29th. What was the next one?
September 28th
June 19th.
and December 14th.
Can we add in a meeting if we
Yeah.
feel we need it?
If it's needed, yes, we can always add a meeting, but these are the quarterly meetings. As long as we have a quorum, they will be held.
I think we need to meet in May, or after the city council meeting.
Yeah.
After the
I agree.
26th, I think it would be good to have a meeting in May so that we can close some of these things out and maybe talk about, what's happening at that council
At the
meeting where
meeting, yeah.
for the teachers. So
Since we can't talk to each other any other time.
yeah, and then I don't want to forget.
Right, I know.
For
Yeah, I'm
the
with you.
meeting.
I'm with you. All right, well, I think this was a very productive meeting. I thank everyone's participation, including our members that were here. It was very helpful. Thank you. Thank you to everyone. So there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
7:29 p.m.
Thank you. Everyone have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, DJ.
Wow, we did well. That's great.
Good
We shut these
information.
off.
Real quick.